Okay, I am joined by another colleague now, Prachi Neymar, who works as part of the Obdia Digital Workplace team. Prachi, good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Adam.
How are you doing?
I am doing great. What about you?
Are you enjoying everything that Enterprise Connect has to offer?
Absolutely.
Good.
It's such a lovely show. I didn't come last year.
Yep,
So
right, okay.
Being here again is yeah, just get to learn so much more than through the virtual presence.
There is that kind of added element to that human interaction, right?
Absolutely.
And even for our team, because this is the first opportunity that we as a team have had to be all together in person.
Yeah, and I'm getting to see you.
Exactly,
right?
I'm no longer just a 2D image.
Yeah.
I am in 3D. So give us a brief introduction to yourself and the research that you develop at Omdia. So what kind of takes your time day to day?
Yeah, so I work within the Unified Communications and Collaboration stream, and I cover video conferencing equipment and collaborative meeting services. These are cloud-based video conferencing services.
Okay.
Right, so I track this market by different vendors, their market shares, shipments of devices, and also revenue for different vendors. And then I build complicated forecasting models to look at what's going to happen in 5 years' time.
So what's kind of the major market trends, market themes that you're kind of writing about and delving into recently?
Yeah, so Adam, now that we have got hybrid work becoming prevalent, right? Some people are working from home, others are working in the office. How do you bring all of them together and give that meeting equity, right, as you do these virtual meetings? And one of the elements that I'm writing about and I'm researching a lot is how can you provide that equitable experience to everybody regardless of their location?
Right.
So everybody should be heard and seen clearly. Everybody should have the same real estate on the screen. How can you do it? Maybe there are so many different ways different vendors are trying to address this. Some are trying to do it with multi-camera solutions across the room. Some are trying to do it using a tabletop solution. Some are trying to do it in the software. Some are trying to do it using artificial intelligence within the device.
We saw a lot of that, didn't we? I was at the Cisco keynote this morning, and the kind of the cinematic meeting rooms and meeting experiences with the multiple cameras, etc. It's interesting how those kind of physical spaces are evolving to, as per your point, kind of deliver those more equitable meeting experiences. Are we kind of far off from mass adoption of these type of capabilities, do you think? I mean, what's the dynamics at play within an organization to adopting those type of capabilities?
I think enterprises want to adopt it. It's just that they are pushing it further simply because they want to understand what is the best technology that will work in, regardless of the different types of meeting spaces that they have, right? And this is an evolving technology. If you commit to something, obviously, in 6 months down the line, you have a much better solution. You cannot scrap and move on to. So I think it's a wait and watch approach until this gets more established, right? And once it gets established, once we have a really well-defined and well-crafted product, it will see mass adoption.
Who's kind of leading on those type of initiatives? Because to me, there's kind of an element of facilities management there in terms of those folks having an interest in how the physical workplace is evolving. There's obviously a technology viewpoint. Who's kind of owning on these type of initiatives, driving them? Who has interest in them?
Yeah, I think earlier it was IT driven, right? But now you have facilities, HR, IT. It's becoming more democratic, right? An approach in terms of deciding what goes where in which meeting space. So I would say it depends on which vertical we are talking about. Which are we talking about enterprises or SMBs, or those dynamics start playing in these spaces. But overall, we are moving away from that um, unilateral decision taking to and equipping these meeting spaces towards more democratic approach.
Yeah, a common theme, I guess, on the technology angle that everybody that I've spoke with has discussed has really been kind of AI, right, in terms of how that's impacting these areas. And it's evident kind of just from seeing the keynotes this morning that there's a big role for AI in terms of, you know, these hardware pieces that you look at, right?
Yeah. AI in hardware where it comes to the edge, right, rather than being in the cloud, that is always going to be key differentiation, and especially for device vendors, if they can bring that out intelligence into the device, it helps them to do a lot of processing at the edge rather than transfer to the cloud and then have that the latency, right, and remove that step from transmitting from the device to the cloud and then waiting for the response, right? So,
yeah. And what else have you maybe kind of gauged from the show in terms of announcements or things you've heard that are of interest? Anything else to kind of share?
I think everybody's talking about AI, right?
Yeah.
And
we're getting the sense of that, yeah.
Yes, large language models. But the good thing is that not everybody is just picking up the generic product, right? But they're trying to adapt it and adapt to their own sort of environment, right?
Right.
Or to their customers' needs, right? So training them on their own data, training them on specific use cases, looking at where are the gaps in the market and how they can address those gaps. That I think is come out as a key theme as I have spoken with several vendors here.
Yeah.
That they are being creative in this area, which is important, isn't it?
How is this kind of, I guess, translating into the type of research that you're working on at the minute? Maybe what is it that you're developing? Something you've published recently that maybe speaks to these areas?
I would love to develop something like this because I don't think I have looked into the impact of AI specifically within the devices and the collaborative meetings, and how these two can come together to create powerful solutions, right? Right now, when we talk about meeting summaries, or that AI can generate nice summarized meetings for you, where you don't really need to be in the meeting.
That's the key, isn't it? Like the summaries are becoming so good, so succinct that you don't actually need to attend.
Imagine a time when there's nobody in the meeting.
And then that begs the question, so if nobody's in the meeting, what are you going to summarize? Nobody attended.
Nobody attending, yeah. So looking at those different aspects, and then like we talked about cameras, and we talked about meeting room equipment, and then we're talking about these powerful AI capabilities in the cloud, and how these two together come and remove those physical barriers that we currently have, remove those social barriers. Right now, imagine, we are always virtual, so it's so difficult to form that social bonds and have those even more emotional connections, right?
Yeah.
Those are missing in a virtual world. Maybe technology would be able to address that, and I'm sure it would one day be able to connect us more in a much more inclusive way, rather than feeling the disjoint experience.
It is an interesting point. I guess when you think about kind of equitable experiences, it makes you kind of think, is that ever really possible? Because there's always going to be, compromises, right? Regardless of which method you're kind of focused on.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in a way, there used to be earlier, there was a lot of talk about virtual meetings are far better than physical meetings. Why? Because you can record those meetings. You can have a translation. If people from two different countries they have a language barrier, you can remove that through translation. You can have transcription. You can have meeting minutes, and then record it, search on the content, and look at anything specific within the meeting that you want to listen to again. Right, those things. If it's a personal meeting, you can't do any of those things, right? Unless you start recording, right?
Exactly. No, I really appreciate the time, Prachi. Thank you so much.